Welcome to the show, guys. Joseph Robert, come on with a fantasy football counselor. In this video, we're talking about 5 running back sleepers going into 2022. This is the very early list. Understand, there's going to be rookies coming in. Depth charts are going to change. Things in the landscape are going to change after the NFL draft. But we're talking sleepers. We don't take a break here on the #1 fantasy football podcast here. Before we get into this, guys, make sure you head on over to manscaped.com. Use promo code SHOWERLION20. I like their trimmers, skin-safe technology. You'll absolutely love them. That's manscaped.com. Use code SHOWERLION20. Save yourself 20%. I recommend you try the shampoo, body wash. You'll absolutely be amazed. The smell, everything, it's just amazing. You'll feel absolutely fresh. Manscaped.com. Get their trimmers as well. I like the Lawnmower 4.0. Manscaped.com, SHOWERLION20. And also pre-order the 16-round draft solution. I've linked it below, guys. This will help you guys crush your leagues. The testimonials were insane. Everybody winning their league this past season. And for next season, for 2022, we want you to crush it. This is the best way to crush your leagues. That's 16-round draft solution. I've linked it below. Head on over to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. All right, let's talk about these running backs, guys. Very, very important to look at sleepers, look at ADPs, look at value. Now, again, it's very early. We don't know where the ADPs are going to be, but I've got 5 running backs on my mind that I think will be going for good value based on where they finished last year and their entire situation. So it's very important, guys, that you look for the value at running back, but also get those early guys, your Jonathan Taylors, your Derrick Henrys early on, so that you're able to add and stack depth for good value, okay? First running back here. Now, he may not be a sleeper by the time the season starts, depending on what happens with Melvin Gordon. But the guy I'm talking about is Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams is only 21 years old, going into his second season. The Denver Broncos absolutely believe in him. Melvin Gordon's old. He's like 28 years old. He's only had one 1,000-yard rushing season. And when you look at the volume share, these guys split it down the middle last season at 203 attempts apiece. But I think that the Broncos are just feeling out Javonte Williams. I think they're going to make improvements at quarterback, and I think they're going to phase out Melvin Gordon. If this is true, then, well, if Melvin Gordon stays on the roster and Javonte Williams stays on the roster as well going into the season, I think Javonte Williams would be great value because a lot of people still think that Melvin Gordon will get that volume. But I really think that Javonte Williams takes this job and really starts emerging as the #1 guy. Again, 203 attempts apiece. Considering Javonte Williams was a rookie, that's pretty impressive that they split down the middle, considering Melvin Gordon was going into the season being the RB1. But again, if Melvin Gordon is still on the team come, August of 2022, then I think Javonte Williams would be great value and a guy that could be a true RB1 eventually in this season. I think they should completely phase out Melvin Gordon, okay? So Javonte Williams, as of right now, there's a chance he might not be a sleeper, but it's still early to tell. But a guy that I think could be a sleeper potentially. But I love him. Love the upside. Love the talent. Again, 903 yards with Melvin Gordon there. 4 touchdowns. 8 touchdowns were hoarded away from Melvin Gordon. By Melvin Gordon. So if Javonte Williams doesn't have Melvin Gordon there, we're looking at least 10 touchdown floor, 1,500 yards rushing on the ground. And he gets done the receiving game. 53 targets, 43 receptions, and 3 receiving touchdowns. I think he can get it done again this year. I love Javonte Williams. Okay, second guy here. Now, I'm not saying he's a sleeper, obviously, because, you could say he's not a sleeper because the guy, you know his name, but he finished 21st amongst running backs in PPR. The guy I'm talking about is David Montgomery. I think he's going to perform well above his average draft position, and we don't know where that's going to be, but I know that he's probably going to come off in around second or third round, maybe even later. Again, people and the mainstream predicate their rankings based on last year, and the fact that he finished 21st, because he only played 13 games, right? He finished 21st amongst running backs. That really shot him down. He had the injury, and then he was hindered by Nagy being a coach. With Nagy being gone and him coming back healthy, this guy could be a top 5 running back with ease if he continues to get that volume. Again, that's the key here, is to continue to get the volume. He finished 4th amongst running backs in 2020 with 247 attempts, 8 touchdowns, and just over 1,000 yards, right? So is that going to continue? Yes, possibly. He just needs to get that opportunity. He needs to get the volume. He needs to stay on the field. But I think that he's going to be drafted far below where he's going to finish. So I think based on ADP and where he's going to fall, I think that he's got more ceiling than people think. And I really think that he could be better than people are going to gauge him at prior to the season. So I'm going to consider him a sleeper here, but that could easily change. We're going to have to see. And if he's a true RB1, which he should be, I don't see an issue with him being, a top 5 finisher here, okay? All right, next sleeper here, and you're going to say, well, Joe, you've kind of mentioned this, but I'm really high on him, is A.J. Dillon, okay? Now, when you look at A.J. Dillon, I mean, I don't know if people know this. People are like, no, that's not true. But he actually was the RB1 on the Packers back this past 2021 season. A.J. Dillon had 187 attempts compared to Aaron Jones' rushing attempts with 171. A.J. Dillon had 803 yards on the ground. Aaron Jones had 799. So more attempts, more rushing yards. He averaged 4.3 yards per carry. Aaron Jones 4.7. So listen to this. A.J. Dillon beat Aaron Jones in attempts at 187. He beat him in rushing yards with 803 compared to 799. And believe it or not, 5 rushing touchdowns compared to 4 by Aaron Jones. Where Aaron Jones shined a little bit more was the receiving touchdowns and the receptions a little bit more. 6 receiving touchdowns, whereas A.J. Dillon had 2. And more targets in the receiving game for Aaron Jones, 65 to 37. So when you look at these guys, I mean, you could really phase out Aaron Jones and give more volume to A.J. Dillon. Both Javonte Williams and A.J. Dillon deserve more volume. And I think this is the year it's happening because you're seeing it. You're seeing more volume go towards A.J. Dillon's way. And if Aaron Jones prior to the season is on the roster, A.J. Dillon, I think, will be a steal because people will still think that Aaron Jones is that RB1, which in fact, A.J. Dillon took that job over quietly and people don't even realize it, right? So A.J. Dillon should take a step up. I think Aaron Jones should take a step back. I'm excited to see what A.J. Dillon does, and I think he's going to be a sleeper. I think he's going to be some good value this upcoming season, okay? So that's a guy you definitely want to keep an eye on this upcoming season, okay? Let's keep going here. Let's move along. I got another sleeper here for you. Now, I'm not really a fan of this team, and just not a fan, but the guy could be good. But the 49ers and Elijah Mitchell. Now, why I like Elijah Mitchell so much is because he's young. He's 23 years old. He's a rookie out of Louisiana. Well, he was a rookie in 2021. He has 1 season under his belt. Pretty decent numbers. 207 attempts, 963 yards, 4.7 yards per carry, and 5 touchdowns. So the guy's been pretty solid. The guy's been pretty good in his rookie season. I mean, that can only go up. And the cool thing about it is that he was the leader when it comes to volume. When you take a look at the 49ers and their running backs, there really wasn't anybody else that took that away. And that's what I like about it. He was the man, okay? So when you look at Elijah Mitchell, I'm thinking, okay, this is a guy that had 207 attempts compared to who was second behind him? Jeff Wilson Jr. played 9 games with 71 attempts. Trey Sermon, who didn't really do anything, with 41 attempts. Then there was Kyle Juszczyk and all those. He's a fullback, whatever. But he was the guy. So I'm guessing, barring any type of injury or if they bring anyone else in, I don't see any reason why Elijah Mitchell doesn't emerge as a top guy there. And hopefully you get him for value in your drafts. I think he's going to give you a good return on investment. 165 PPR fantasy points. Not the greatest in 2021, but I think his volume increases and I think he develops more as a player. So Elijah Mitchell as a sleeper. And again, I'm not a big fan of the 49ers, okay? And the final guy here, I've talked about him before. I was high on him this past year as my RB5 on my rosters, and he did okay. Like, he wasn't, like, crazy amazing. This is the best guy on the planet. But the guy I'm talking about was Michael Carter, finished 29th amongst running backs this season, and he had 147 attempts. Again, leading the pack there with the Jets amongst running backs with the most attempts. There wasn't anybody who was even close to him. But again, Michael Carter, 29th amongst running backs. Elijah Mitchell finished 26th amongst running backs. A.J. Dillon, 23rd. David Montgomery, 21st. And Javonte Williams, 17th amongst running backs. The fact that these guys didn't finish in the top 15 is going to give them some sleeper value. They may be slept on, and that's the cool thing about it. And I really think Michael Carter is one of those guys because it's not that he has got another guy like a Melvin Gordon ahead of him. It's the fact that he's on the Jets. And the fact that he's on the Jets, I think a lot of people will sleep on him, which is really, really good. So Michael Carter, again, not the greatest season, 639 yards, but again, leading in attempts. And if they improve that O-line and figure out their quarterback situation, I don't see any reason why Michael Carter is not a top 10 running back if he gets the volume. Volume is key. Even as a top running back on the Jets, he didn't get the volume. It's like they didn't run the ball that much. 147 attempts for your leading rusher. They got to pound the ball more. They got to improve that O-line. They got to get a quarterback that'll do his job. Okay, so a lot of stuff up in the air in regards to Jets and what they're going to do in the offseason and the NFL draft. But definitely a guy you want to watch as a sleeper is Michael Carter this season, okay? Now, another thing, we're going to have to see the rookies coming in, where they're going to land. I don't look at rookies until I know their landing spot. Once I know their landing spot and look at the depth chart on the team, then I can better configure where they're going to end up or how they're going to finish, right? Where they're going to end up is going to kind of predicate how they're going to finish based on volume, opportunity, talent, and who else is on that depth chart. So I'm able to better gauge their fantasy output after the NFL draft. That's why I released my first 16-round draft solution first version video a week after the NFL draft, because that gives me a week to sit down, analyze, and say, okay, these rookies came in, this guy's going to take over, that guy's falling, that guy's rising, right? I get a feel for it. As of right now, these sleepers are pretty much predicated on last year, and they could emerge. So if Melvin Gordon takes a hike in the offseason, Javonte Williams shoots up, and he's probably no longer going to be a sleeper, right? So again, copy and paste from the mainstream consensus. They're pretty much going to do that. And when they do that, that's when I capitalize, look for these opportunities and these sleepers and get them for amazing value in your fantasy football drafts. All right, guys? If you are new to the channel, make sure you guys do click the subscribe button. We go year round. And again, get that 16-round draft solution below. And stay fresh at manscaped.com. Use promo code SHOWERLINE20. Grab yourself a trimmer. All right, guys? I'm out. We'll talk soon. Subscribe.